Right, here we are back out in Austria for the beginning of the season. We were off to a flying start last week. Beautiful, warm weather, the snow up in the mountains was melting, the river levels were rising. I was sessioning out with the crew on the Brandenburger and the Salak, and the Utz River was just about to come in, and then this cold snap of weather came through and ruined everything, for me at least. And now the river levels are dropping. I don't really have that good of a set of rapids to session, which is pretty sad, but they'll come back as soon as the temperatures rise up and the flow comes again. In the meantime, I'm going to outfit all of my kayaks and get them ready for the season, which is something that I'm not really good at doing, because every time I get a new kayak I'm just excited to use it and I sort of just bodge the outfitting together and make it happen so that I can get out on the water quickly. But now I've got the time to do it, nice garage set up at home, all of my neighbour Danny's tools to use, which is really sick. Normally I'm just using the little Allen key that comes with a fitting pack, and that works, I can do everything with it, but this feels way better to use. So right now I just finished moving my seat all the way back in the Ripper Large, which I use at 75 kilos, and at my weight I like the seat all the way back so I can still get this thing vertical. And with the width and the volume I really like it because I feel comfortable using it on harder whitewater. And yeah, it's just where I like my seat in a lot of kayaks really. I think almost all of them I have my seat at least one back from middle or all the way back. So yeah, last screw to put in now and then the seat is in the position I like. Some people struggle to get the screw in here to the mounting plate on the bottom of the seat, and the biggest trick to this is just keeping the plate flat when you're screwing it in. And from the boys in the factory, they tell me that the best way to do it is to do one up a little bit and then put the other one in and do that one up a little bit and then the next one, and then go back to the first one, do that one up a little bit and repeat until it's tight. That comes from the boys in the factory who, you know, they outfit hundreds of kayaks, if not thousands a year, so they know best for sure. One method I like to do sometimes if I'm having trouble lining it up is I'll do one screw up all the way until it's really, really tight and the plate is flat at the top, and then I'll make sure the hole is lined up and I'll use a little torch to see through and make sure that's the way it should be, and then I'll screw the last screw in, and because both plates are flat and all lined up, it normally goes pretty well. But I don't know, swings and roundabouts with outfitting, the Piranha outfitting, I'm always striving for more, so I think it could be better, but at the same time it's pretty strong, it's pretty light, it works well, it gives you good connection to the kayak. So even though it's not necessarily as quick to adjust as some brands, I really enjoy that it is so strong and so light and it works this well, you know, because I normally move the seat once and I never move it again, and it just works, it stays in place, nothing ever breaks or anything like that, which I like. Okay, so that is that's all my screws done up in the seat, that's where I like it. Next thing I'm going to do is to raise my seat up a little bit, and these come with the kayak, and you just put them underneath the seat pad. Biggest thing that I like to do differently to others is that some people like to lift the front of their legs up, but then that makes you sit like this in the kayak. It sort of makes you slouching, you know, lazy boy style. So I don't necessarily like to lift the front of the seat up with foam. What I like to do is lift the back of the seat up, so then I'm sitting just slightly leaning forwards in a more positive position. And then spray glue is your friend for anything with outfitting. So much better than the big pot of Evo stick. Just let that go tacky for a second and then stick that to the seat, put the pad over, job's done. Next thing I'll do is the hip pads. What I like to do with these is to fold the shim over a little bit that it comes with, and that then just gives me a bit more of the shape that I like with my hip pad. So rather than it being a flat block at the back, it's sort of tapered as the hip pad is. So you see how it sort of comes up, curves in the middle, and then gets bigger at the top. Same for when I'm putting my shims in by folding one of them over. I get this shape, which I much prefer. I think it's comfier, and ultimately I'm not trying to have my hips too tight, but I am trying to have something at the top of my hips to stop me lifting off the seat and coming out of the kayak. Back band I like to have pretty loose, but I put a little stopper knot in the back, and that just stops it from sliding on long days out on the water. I do like to have my backrest sit really low, and that's just because when it sits any higher I feel it gets in the way and it makes it uncomfortable on my back, so I keep it loose and I keep it sitting pretty low. That's probably dried enough. Sort of depends when you're putting your hip pads in how long and how strong your fingers are, but I like to get this strap on the back of the hip pads as tight as possible, and then the hip pads don't move around as much when you're getting in and out of your kayak especially. If you can't get a good grip on it, then a set of pliers does a really good job of this. But yeah, then it's in, it's not moving. I'll do the other one. Alright, hip pads in, seat set, backrest sort of sorted. The next thing I do is my thigh braces, which I use the hooker thigh braces, and Piranha do make these, they do sell them, but it's not necessarily a great product for them to sell because it takes time, profit margin isn't that big I don't think, and for whatever reason they're not that excited about ever giving me a set of these. I have to ask way in advance and to ask a lot until I get a set. Maybe you guys will have an easier time getting hold of them, but they are sick. So to fit these, you would take out the normal thigh brace, you'd remove the little foam pad from it, and then you'd use 2 screws to fit it in, and then you can adjust them as you want to how much curve you want in them. I obviously have them on max because I want the most contact with the kayak that I can possibly get, and I do genuinely prefer using my kayak with the hooker thigh brace, as it feels like I have more control over the kayak. I already put mine in because I used my kayak the other day, but what I didn't do is to pad them out with more foam. And the foam they come with is pretty good, it does the job, but with how hard I pull on my knees on these, I need a bit more padding to really be comfortable. And also, I normally find after a few weeks, this padding, after a few uses, this padding starts to come off, which makes it really uncomfortable because then you just have a sharp piece of plastic digging into your thigh, which is not what you want. So I normally take some of the foam that comes with the kayak and just put that on there, add a little bit of duct tape to the edges to stop it from peeling, and yeah, jobs are good in. Put the sticky back foam that comes in your outfitting kit on your hooker thigh braces. You can normally get a pretty nice job done on it, and then you just use a sharp knife and tighten it up. This one actually, check this out, this is made by my mate Brandon, who works for Benchmade Knives, and this one says send on it, which I think is so rad that he sent one to myself and Adrian. This is genuinely 100% the best knife I've ever owned, and yeah, it's going to do a good job on this foam right now. One of the last things to do is put my footrest in, and I like to put a heel block on it. So this is just quick and dirty. Basically I cut a block of foam out and then cut the corners off so my heels sit nicely on it, and I can't even tell you the difference this makes. Every time I do it, I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? I have so much more contact with the kayak with my feet, and it just feels so much better. But yeah, it's like a 5 or 10 minute job. You just need a bit of foam and then it's all good. Have pretty short legs, so it's always a struggle for me to get the foam footrest in front of the centre pillar. That's just because I have such short legs. And then getting it to sit down on the foot rail. Okay. Seat set, hip pads done, footrest in, 5 braces. Need a bit of duct tape, but I'll do that once I find my duct tape. Not a big job. And then the backrest. I've lost count of the amount of times that I've seen people on the river, they get in and the backrest comes all the way out of the ratchet and then they struggle to put it back in. Easy way to fix that, to make it way easier on yourself, is to just bend the very top of the backrest here of the ratchet strap. So you just push it, bend it a little bit so it's more like that, and then thread it back through. And it goes into the ratchet so much easier. Top tip of the day there, if you're into the whole tip of the day thing. So that would be normally everything set on my kayak, but I used it the other day in Loafer, and when I was doing the tomahawk off the second drop on triple step, I crashed. And I blew up the drain plug. I fell off the rock, didn't land the trick and fell off the rock vertical, and then smashed into the rocks in the landing directly on the drain plug. Now my drain plug is broken. This is the fix that I came up with while I was at the river, which is just a bunch of duct tape. But now I'm going to fix it properly. Alright, last thing to do is to put stickers on the kayak, which when I was 12 years old I was all about this, you know, the more stickers the better for 12-year-old Bren on his kayak, but sort of don't really care anymore now I'm older. But it is in my contract with a few of the companies I work with to have stickers on my kayak, so we'll crack on and do that. One thing is, I don't think anyone appreciates how hard it is to get the stickers to go onto the rough plastic that Piranha use on the top decks, and that's to help the kayak come out of the mold nicer, which I understand completely, but it makes my life way harder putting these stickers on my kayak. The way that I get around that is to use a heat gun, get the plastic warm, put the sticker on, heat the sticker up, press all of the air bubbles out that are created by putting the sticker on the rough plastic, and then let it sit, and then maybe go back and do it again. You obviously don't want to get your plastic too hot here. If you don't have access to a heat gun, then you can always use someone's hairdryer. I always used to use my mum's and my little sister's when I was a kid. I didn't have my neighbour's heat gun to borrow. Thanks again, Danny. Danny actually works at the local kayak shop in town, Source to Sea, which I think his brother and him, or just his brother set up, or I don't even know, but anyway, if you're in Austria and you need kayaks or kayak parts or courses or showing down the local rivers, make sure you hit up Source to Sea. Great bunch of people. Putting the stickers on always takes the most time, unless sometimes I struggle with that seat. Sometimes I don't even know what it is. Just sometimes it just doesn't want to work for me. And one time when I was a kid, I was really proud. They gave me like a carbon kayak, and they asked me at the factory, like, would you like us to get someone to help you outfit? And I was like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm almost a grown man at this point. I'll do it myself. And I took it home, completely bodged it. And I had to go back to the factory and ask for adult help. And the team manager at the time, Tim Lambert, was absolutely crying laughing as I came back, and he saw the difference from like how confidently I strode out with the kayak and the outfitting kit ready to do my own outfitting, and how meekly I came back with my tail in between my legs asking for help. way I always tell with this stuff as to whether I'm getting it right is whether I can see the little bubbles of the rough plastic through the sticker. And if that's happening, I know that I'm heating the sticker up enough, but not too much, and that because the sticker is getting more flexible as it gets hotter, I'm able to press it down into all that rough plastic. Alright, that's it. Kayak fully outfitted, ready for the season. I just have to do that for my other 6 kayaks outside, which actually before I end this video, I'll just go show you real quick what I've got. Large Ripper is my go-to kayak for sure, because it doesn't matter what river I'm on or what the flow is like that day, it's always a sick time in that kayak. Sometimes it is a little bit too sporty, but if I'm honest, I really enjoy those days where I have to push myself a little bit harder to use it. But I love that kayak so much regardless of what's going on. And then I have, this is not mine, right? This is one of the lads' kayaks, but I can use it. This is an old Piranha Master. And then I have my 12R here, which I got mainly for training in, using it for attainments on the river outside, using it on the Utz River, and just getting used to pushing around a bigger, heavier, longer kayak where I have to anticipate my moves more. I mean, it's going to be really sick for training, but I'm excited for the flows to come back up and to get it out on some good rapids. And then I've got the new Scorch, which this one was actually the first one out the mold, I think, because you can see where we were lining up the holes and where it would fit. Genuinely, I'm so impressed with that design. I'm so stoked to get that out to Norway and to use it on some harder rivers. I need more time in it, but I think it's going to be so sick. That's the large too, which is going to be perfect for me on multi-days where I'm packing gear into my kayak. I think the medium one just got finished the other week, so I look forward to getting hold of one of those as well, which will be a bit more my size. But the large impressed me because normally a large creek boat is hard for me to boof, but that flew over everything. It wasn't too hard to pull up over things, which was sick. And then I've got my 9R2, which I don't even race that much. It's technically a race kayak, that's what the R stands for, but it's just so sick. I love this thing, especially on pushy white water. You just feel unstoppable. You feel like you can go over anything. So I've got that for the days where the Ripper is perhaps a bit too is perhaps not enough kayak. I've got the 9R2 or the Scorch to choose from. Then I've got my Ozone for the days when the water levels are low, or there's a wave to surf, or I want to session a hole or something. The Ozone is so much fun, it's wicked. And yeah, I think that's all my kayaks for the season. I've got my old Ripper from last season, which I'm letting the boys from the house use. They're stoked on that. If I'm honest, it's this guy who uses the Ripper the most. But yeah, that's all my kayaks for the season, and then just have to finish outfitting the other 4 or 5 kayaks, and then my fleet of kayaks is ready, which is, if I'm honest, that's what I always wanted, you know, to just have a sick fleet of kayaks that is good for whatever type of river or water level or any situation I'm in. And yeah, stoked, really excited to finally have that opportunity to just have stacks of sick kayaks. So yeah, cheers for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you all out on the water soon.